What's up, Barnhill family, and welcome back to your home for all things combat sports.
Yo.
Guys, today we are talking Dricus Du Plessis' 3 keys to victory as he steps in the cage to defend his belt against Khamzat Chimaev. And if you're interested in the flip side of that conversation, meaning Khamzat's 3 keys, we'll make sure to put a link in the description on this video so you can check that out as well. But today's conversation circles around how DDP gets it done. Now, Nick, the easy thing to say, and I feel like it's so played out at this point, is that Khamzat needs to get in there and get Dricus out of there early.
Right.
And if he doesn't get Dricus out of there early, then he gets into the later rounds and Dricus is going to take over. And while there may be some validity to that point and there may be some truth to it, I think there's a lot more than what's on the surface as far as this fight is concerned.
Okay.
So I really kind of want to dive into what are the 3 keys for Dricus Du Plessis to win this fight. And when we were sort of devising these, one thing that we both kept coming up with was, and we'll call it key number 1, Dricus Du Plessis needs to come out of the gate and shoot for a takedown.
Yeah.
I always think back to the Deontay Wilder-Tyson Fury trilogy.
Okay.
Everybody was so afraid of the power that Deontay Wilder possessed that they backed up the entire fight.
Right.
Tyson Fury said, my theory is this guy can't fight off his back foot. I'm going to do what nobody else had the stones to do, and I'm coming directly across the ring, and I'm going to be the aggressor. I'm going to push the pace. I'm going to push him back and make him fight off of his back foot. And it proved to be a very effective method. Now, totally different sport, but I think the analogy still remains the same. If Dricus can come out of the gate and show Khamzat, hey, I'm willing to wrestle with you. I'm willing to grapple with you. You're going to feel my size and strength, something that you've never felt to the magnitude of what I present in the cage, and actually look for a takedown of his own. It could disrupt the game plan of Khamzat a little bit. And I'm not saying that Dricus should sell out to wrestle with Khamzat here, but I think he should definitely look for some grappling of his own and not just concede that, hey, Khamzat's the better grappler, so I need to stay away from the grappling at all costs.
Yeah, I agree with you. Dricus Du Plessis needs to be the first one to shoot a takedown in this fight. Everybody knows Khamzat Chimaev can and will take DDP down. But if DDP flips the script on everybody and goes in there and he's the first one to change levels and shoot for a takedown, he doesn't even need to control Khamzat on the ground. He just needs to get in there, get his hands locked behind his hips, and drop him on the ground. That will change the mentality of Khamzat moving forward in the fight. It might even change his game plan a little bit. So I see DDP having some success if he does try to do a bit of wrestling. But most importantly, he needs to do that wrestling and try to show Khamzat Chimaev that there is another grappler in this octagon. And even though you might be the more credentialed guy, even though you're probably going to get the better of the grappling exchanges in this fight, I can get you down. And also, Khamzat Chimaev has a perfect takedown defense record. He's 100% takedown defense in the UFC. If DDP can change that, heck, he might as well go after all the stats because, let's be honest, Khamzat Chimaev's resume looks pretty insane. He got punched 1 time in 4 fights when he was, first getting into the UFC. So his stats look all sorts of lopsided. Maybe DDP just wants to go one stat after the next and start dismantling him, making his stats appear a bit more human. But I do love that first key. Dricus should be looking for takedowns, and I would love to see if he got that takedown done or at least shot it before Khamzat shoots his first one.
Yeah, and it would be interesting to see how Khamzat reacts to that. We know Khamzat's an excellent offensive grappler, potentially the best offensive wrestler in the UFC right now, certainly the most tenacious, if not the most technically proficient. There's some guys like Islam Makhachev that you could throw in there that probably have the same or better skill level, but as far as tenacity, nobody's got Khamzat beat. And, going back to that Deontay Wilder analogy, they don't call him the Bronze Bomber for no reason.
Right.
People were definitely afraid of his power.
Right.
And they for good reason, because I mean he would hit you with shots that didn't even look like they were that clean, and you would just be sleeping unconscious on the canvas.
Yeah, I think at a time he was 30-0 with 29 knockouts, and then avenged that one loss, or not loss, but non-knockout, and then ended up
with a quick
that
knockout. Yeah. But and so if Khamzat is kind of that same thing, he's the man, you cannot get grappled with this guy. You can't get if he gets his hands around you, it's massive problems. And so you have to stay away from that. You have to avoid it at all costs.
Right.
And sometimes when you're trying to avoid something so much, you end up making it easy for it to actually happen. It's kind of like the law of attracting. Like you're attracting what you don't want because you're so desperately trying to avoid it.
Right.
But if you fight fire with fire, maybe we get to see how Khamzat's defensive wrestling is against an opponent who's very big and very strong and also a great grappler in his own right. So I'm really excited to see what DDP does as far as offensive wrestling. we know it's a given. As you said, Khamzat's going to take DDP down. We're not breaking any news here that Khamzat has the ability and will take Dricus Du Plessis down at some point in this fight. But what will be really interesting to see is how Khamzat wrestles defensively if Dricus brings that offensive wrestling to him.
Yeah, and this is a very good first point because the first round is where Khamzat shines the most, right? So we need to address this thing first. And if Khamzat comes across the cage and wins the first round against whoever he fights, DDP needs to change that, right?
Yeah.
And the best way you can do that is study what the other guys did. None of them were successful because they were all running away, avoiding the takedown at all costs. I say you meet the rubber on the road and go for your own takedown. I think DDP might actually shock some people. He might shock Khamzat, and who knows if he is able to get a takedown on Khamzat in round one. I mean, we're talking about a completely different fight than literally everybody. Whether you ask Dana White, any top level UFC fighter, anybody that commentates on the sport at all. Everybody would have a now upside down opinion on this because everybody goes easy money, round one dominance for Khamzat, or he gets it done in round one. Round two, it's a little bit of the same, but maybe not. And round 3s, 4, and 5 are going to go Dricus' way. So if we see Dricus go out there, land the first takedown, potentially win the first round, then we've got a completely upside down fight on our hands. And at that point, nobody will know what's going to happen.
Exactly. Before we get into the second point, guys, one thing we noticed is that most of you that watch our videos are actually not subscribed to the channel.
What's up with that?
If you're finding value in this content and you enjoy this wonderful sport of MMA as much as we do, hit that subscribe button. It helps us out tremendously. It costs you nothing. And hey, guess what? You can always change your mind later.
Thanks, boys.
And that kind of brings me to point number 2, which I think is another real key for Dricus here, because we know we're going to see that wrestling offensive from Khamzat Chimaev. And if there is one point in his game that some people criticize, and I think wrongfully so, but I see the reasons why they say it. They say that Khamzat's gas tank is not that great.
Right.
I think it's just that he goes all out, he goes for broke, and no human being can sprint for 15 or 25 minutes.
Right.
But I would like to see Dricus test that gas tank a little bit. And I mean throw a lot of body shots when I say that, because one thing we know is when you start to really, land on the body, and Dricus has got some really heavy hands and some really heavy kicks, you can start to zap the gas tank of your opponent. So for me, I think that Dricus, if he starts to attack the body with some good, long, straight punches, maybe even some hooks to the side of the body, to the liver, to the spleen, stuff like that, and throw some of those big, heavy kicks that he's known for. Now, he's got to be careful with the kicks. He can't go too high with him. He can't get him caught because that could get him in a bad spot. But if he stays low enough with the kicks to where he's hitting just above the hip bone and starting to hit those soft spots of the midsection of Khamzat, maybe we see a little bit more desperation in the takedown attempts. And one thing we know about a more desperate takedown attempt is it's harder to land than one that you're timing and you're sort of dictating the engagement yourself. So point number 2 for me, Dricus really needs to attack the body early and often with big shots and a variety of big shots, kicks, knees, and hands.
I totally agree, and early is the key to that. So these strikes that we're talking about they're always going to be open, and I call them disruptive strikes, but primarily when we see people throw disruptive strikes, it's usually a jab to mess up the rhythm of somebody coming inside, right? It's a jab right to the face to kind of keep them at bay and kill their vision. What I think DDP needs to use as a disruptive strike in this fight, especially early, is a body kick. And the way I kind of want to set this up is, remember what we just saw Max Holloway doing to Dustin Poirier. As soon as Dustin would throw that 1-2, that second arm becomes extended, and Max Holloway would like jump and do some sort of a side kick, and it was landing flush really well. And he landed it several times in that fight. I think that obviously Dricus isn't as small or agile as Max Holloway, so he doesn't need to be doing all that jumping, especially with somebody like Khamzat who can get his hands around you and then get you to the ground. But you can't be afraid to throw kicks either. Like, yes, a wrestler does want to get a hold of your leg, and if you kick, you're basically giving it to him. But if they're committed to striking on their way in, that body is going to be wide open. And if he extends on that too, as long as Dricus times it perfectly, that can be a very disruptive strike as far as Khamzat's entering rhythm goes, but it can also hit him directly where everybody says there's a big question in his game, which is his gas tank. And I'm with you on the narrative about his gas tank. I don't think that Khamzat has a bad gas tank. I just don't think he has a proven gas tank.
Right.
I think Dricus has a proven gas tank because we've seen him have to utilize it. Most of the time, Khamzat goes out there, doesn't get even punched in the face.
Right.
Right. So now we've seen him in a couple of wars. We've seen him get hit. We've seen him look human. But I think that is a major key. And if we can see Dricus Du Plessis cause some damage early to that to the gas tank of Khamzat Chimaev by hitting him when he's entering and not trying to force body shots. Don't try to slide inside and get fancy with some boxing. No, as soon as you see it, you got to disrupt his entrance and make him pay for it. And obviously Dricus hits really hard. So a couple big shots, a couple big kicks that you put 100% of your effort into, that could really start to slow Khamzat Chimaev down. And if that happens, then we're looking at a different fight. Now we're considering maybe if this goes into the later rounds, we might see what everybody was anticipating, where Khamzat starts out strong, but the fight ends with DDP finishing strong.
Yeah. And, third and final point, and I've alluded to this, as have you, a couple of times in this video.
Okay.
We know we're going to see Khamzat take DDP down.
Yes.
That's no secret. Khamzat takes everybody down. He took Usman down. He took Gilbert Burns down. Like he's taken down grapplers that are more decorated as grapplers, both inside and outside of the octagon, than Dricus Du Plessis. So to think that he's not going to get Dricus down at some point is, I think, a wrong assumption. So what does Dricus do when that happens? And point number 3 to me is never settle on the ground if you're Dricus Du Plessis.
Agreed.
You have to keep the scrambles going, even if it tires you out a little bit. If Khamzat can get you settled, if he can start to get control of your body, that's where things really start to go south.
Yes.
That's where rounds get lost. They get lopsided, potentially 10-8, or worst case scenario, if you're his opponent, that's where you get finished.
Yep.
So Dricus, what does he have going for him? He's got very good jiu-jitsu. He's very good with submissions and stuff like that. I do not think there's any chance he submits Khamzat in this fight, but he can at least threaten submissions to work his way back to the feet. He's also very strong and he's very wiry.
Yeah.
Use that to keep moving. If Khamzat's going to take you down, which he is, make him expend energy. Don't give up takedowns for free. Don't give up positions for free. Make him work to get those takedowns, make him work in those scrambles. And DDP is just so damn unorthodox that he may even find a weird shot that hurts Khamzat in some of those scrambles, but you have to create those scenarios in order to have that success. So perhaps the biggest key of this fight to me for Dricus is do not settle under any circumstances on the ground when you get taken down. Wiry from start to finish, scrambling from start to finish. If Khamzat's going to hold you on the ground, make it the most difficult thing he's ever done in his life.
I totally agree. Khamzat Chimaev is going to take DDP down in this fight, but I believe the scrambling ability of DDP is what's going to make the difference. And in my opinion, he needs to extend these scrambles as long as he can. If he starts to break free, if he starts to break the grip of Khamzat Chimaev and he gets back up to his feet, maybe he should, instead of disengaging and getting back to striking, where Khamzat would likely shoot again, maybe re-engage and shoot your own takedown. Like these types of things, make it a scramble because you know who you're fighting. Khamzat Chimaev is the most tenacious, wild starter in the entire UFC. He is one of the best at starting a fight early. When he's fresh, there's almost nobody scarier. So you got to go out there and remember that's who it is. And remember that everybody lives and dies by the sword. You want to come at me with 100% of your gas? No problem. But if I'm survived at the end, then you're not going to have any gas left. And I think that there's got to be some a bit of a mental game that Dricus has to play in order to really zap that gas tank. Obviously, the strikes are going to be important. He has to do that. Time in a fight will zap everybody's gas tank, but the way Dricus can do it, in addition to the strikes and the time zapping Khamzat's gas tank, is he needs to extend these scrambles, make Khamzat work. Dricus has a wide torso. He's got a wide set of hips, so it's going to be harder for Khamzat to get his hands locked behind him. I think that you're going to feel a tremendous amount of weight when Dricus starts to sprawl down on you, and those sort of situations can be taxing on somebody. But remember, Khamzat Chimaev it's embedded in him. It's instinctual at this point where he's gonna get a takedown. And so if you block the first takedown and he starts chaining it together and you're blocking everything, he's just going to keep going until he gets it. It's like he's trying to prove a point. I don't think we ever see Khamzat Chimaev shoot in on a takedown, realize halfway through he's not getting it, and then let go. he's going to just follow it through. Look at what he did with Kevin Holland. He's just moving any direction you want to go. He's not letting up on that position that he just got, even if all it is a grip around your waist. So I think Dricus Du Plessis really needs to take advantage of that. And just like anything else, right? They tell you in jiu-jitsu, if somebody's pushing at you, don't push back into them. Let them go to the side, right? So if somebody wants to blow all their gas trying to hold you down, let them do it. Dricus is clearly the guy who has proven himself to be better later in fights. So I think it would be very advantageous for Dricus to try to drag those scrambles out.
Yeah, and the main kind of overarching thing for all of these 3 key points is he's got to do it early and he's got to do it often
100%.
For Dricus. Because the reality is, like, let's say you got to race Usain Bolt in the mile. Mm-hmm. This is kind of how I feel like this fight, will
Great
play
analogy.
out. You got to race Usain Bolt in the mile.
Yep.
Okay. I know I'm not beating him the first 100 meters.
Right.
No human being
human.
On earth has ever run faster in 100 meters than Usain Bolt.
Yeah.
But if we got to go around the track 4 times, how do I play into that?
Right.
I need to properly exhaust my opponent's energy, so make him think that he needs to sprint even faster, so that as it gets to 200 meters, he's still way ahead of me. 400 meters, he's probably ahead of me still, but I did enough early to make him really get off the block that now come lap 2, lap 3, I can start to take over and I can potentially end up at the finish line faster, even though he was further along in the earlier part of the fight. So that's kind of what I see Dricus needing to do. Yes, the analogies of Khamzat needs to do stuff early and Dricus needs to do stuff late are legit analogies and legit talking points, but I think it's a lot more nuanced than that. Dricus needs to do a lot of stuff early too, so that his opponent doesn't have it there later on in the fight, and he can't just concede rounds 1 and rounds 2 because, hey, that's what Khamzat does to everybody. No, you need to put the work in those rounds, even if you lose them, so that they come back and play in your favor as the fight continues.
Yeah, absolutely. And Khamzat, obviously, he's one of the best starters the UFC has ever seen. Dricus isn't one of the best starters, but he ends fights very well. Yep. A bit of a tortoise in the hare type of a fight right here, except for this isn't the tortoise in the hare. This is the boars versus Still Knox.
There we go.